take our time to introduce ourselves to the people sitting next to us, just so that you can start networking from the beginning of the program. Just hello, good morning. It was a rainy day, so I know it took a lot for everybody to be able to make it out this morning. So please, let's exchange pleasantries or introduce ourselves, or should I ask us to introduce ourselves individually, whichever. Just take your time. We're all here for a workshop on dam safety and management. And I would like to also welcome our distinguished ladies and gentlemen and participants of this program who are joining us online via Zoom. You're all welcome. I am Halima Bello, your MC for this program. And every time we go into a hall, we should always notice our exit doors. We have 2 exit doors at the back, and our restrooms are located at the back too, just in case anybody needs to make use of the facilities. We should always check for the exit door, 2 at the back, and our restrooms are located behind as well. This is to announce the arrival of the representative of the permanent secretary to this program. Thank you very much. The representative of the permanent secretary, Director Reforms, Mr. Moses Joe Madugu. You're very welcome, sir. May we please rise for the national anthem. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to begin by recognizing the presence of a highly esteemed personality, the representative of the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, the Director Reforms, Mr. Moses Joe Madugu. You're very welcome, sir. Before I proceed, sir, may I respectfully request your indulgence to invite members of the high table to join you. You already have the Director, Dams, Reservoirs, and Operations sitting next to you, Engineer Ali Dala. I would like to invite the Acting Director General, National Water Resource Institute, Dr. Martins Eduvier. I would also like to invite the Director 2, Dams, Reservoirs, and Operation, Madam Stella Arachi, to the high table. As the program progresses, I'll continue to invite the members of the high table to come and join them. And I would also recognize the people that are joining us via Zoom. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to today's workshop on dam safety management. So, at this point, may I invite the director May I take this opportunity to invite the lead paper presenter, Engineer Alabi Daisy. To come up to the high table to sit. At this point, may I invite the Director Dams Reservoir Operation, an accomplished engineer, Engineer Ali Dalla, for his welcome address. Engineer, sir.
The Permanent Secretary, Mr. Richard Filangwa, ably represented by the Director, Reform, Coordination, and Service Improvement, my own brother, Mr. Moses Joe Madugu, the Acting Director General, National Water Resources Institute, Dr. Matthew Oke-Ofie, Directors of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and other ministries here present, Deputy Directors and Assistant Directors of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation and other ministries here present, resource persons, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure and honor to warmly welcome you all to this important workshop on dam safety, organized by the Department of Dams and Reservoir Operations, Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, in collaboration with Transforming Irrigation in Nigeria, TRIMIN project. Today marks a significant milestone in our collective effort to strengthen the resilience, safety, and sustainability of Nigeria's dam infrastructure. Your presence here today reflects a shared commitment to advancing knowledge, exchanging best practices, and building stronger institutional capacity in the critical area of dam safety management. As we gather here for this workshop, we are reminded that dams are more than just massive concrete and earth structures. They are lifelines that support agriculture, urban water supply, hydropower, fisheries, flood control, navigation, and even tourism. Nigeria, like many countries, has invested heavily in dam infrastructure to drive socio-economic development. However, the benefits of these investments are only secure when their safety is guaranteed. Dams failures, though rare, have had devastating consequences globally, resulting in loss of lives, displacement of communities, economic hardship, and long-term environmental damage. In Nigeria, many of our dams are aging, under-maintained, and facing increasing pressures from climate variability, catchment degradation, sedimentation, and urban encroachment. These risks, if left unaddressed, could compromise the integrity and service delivery of our national dam assets. In this context, this workshop is not only timely, but critical. It provides a strategic platform to build consensus on urgent priorities, such as conducting comprehensive dam safety assessments, updating design and operational standards, institutionalizing safety inspection and monitoring protocols, strengthening emergency preparedness and response mechanisms, enhancing data management and the use of new technologies for dam surveillance. This workshop also aligns with ongoing national efforts to develop a national dam safety management framework and to update relevant policies and technical guidelines in line with global standards such as those of the International Commission on Large Dams, ICOL. I am particularly pleased to note that the diverse range of stakeholders represented here today, namely engineers, hydrologists, environmental specialists, disaster risk managers, and representatives from river basin development authorities, state water agencies, GENCOs, academia, and development partners. Your contribution will be instrumental in shaping a comprehensive, inclusive, and forward-looking approach to dam safety. The Department of Dams and Reservoir Operations, which I have the privilege to lead, remains fully committed to providing leadership, technical coordination, and policy support for safe and efficient dam operations across the country. We are also working to strengthen our collaboration with state governments, our development partners, and other sorry, this is to tell us that we are also working to strengthen our collaboration with state governments, our development partners, and other key institutions to ensure
very much for paying rapt attention. And I would also like to draw our attention to the fact that we have participants joining us online via Zoom. I think once the technical people are ready, they might highlight it on the screen so that we can take note of the people that we have joining us. Thank you very much. I would like to invite, sorry for the oversight, the representative of the Ministry of Power. He's here with us to please join us on the high table. You are very welcome, sir. at this point. Thank you. You're welcome. You can sit. Okay. Yes, I just brought him forward because he will be giving us a goodwill message. So I didn't want him to sit down and then have to stand up. So I'll call our first partners that will be giving us a goodwill message at the safety workshop. We have the representative of Power. He would introduce himself and then carry on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, the MC. The representative of the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, here represented by Director Reforms, the Director Dams, the Director 2 Dams, other directors in our midst. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Engineer Bem Ayangao, Assistant Director of Renewable and Rural Power Access. I'm here representing the Permanent Secretary to deliver this goodwill message. And I read his message. I am delighted to attend and deliver this goodwill message on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Power at this important workshop on dam safety management. Dams are strategic national assets, playing vital roles in water supply, flood control, irrigation, and critically in harnessing hydropower resources to boost electricity generation across Nigeria. Their safe and efficient operation is essential to the national development and must remain a top priority in our infrastructure and energy agenda. The Federal Ministry of Power is happy to be part of the Sustainable Power and Irrigation for Nigeria SPIN project. Under this project, the ministry is spearheading the implementation of the hydropower component in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation and other partners in preparation of a national hydropower development master plan, which will lay the foundation for private sector participation through public-private partnerships in the delivery of transformative hydropower projects. This workshop reflects our shared commitments and provides a timely platform to share knowledge, strengthen capacities, and align strategies on dam safety management. It is also an opportunity to reinforce collaboration among stakeholders towards achieving a resilient and sustainable energy infrastructure. On behalf of the Federal Ministry of Power, I commend the organizers, the Department of Dams, Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, the World Bank, the TRIMIN project, and the participants for your commitment to this important subject. We look forward to fruitful deliberations and concrete outcomes that will shape the future of hydropower development and dam safety in Nigeria. Thank you. I wish you all a productive workshop.
Thank you very much, sir. And you're very welcome. So we have on the monitor people joining us via Zoom. So we hope they are hearing everything we're saying and they are actively participating, listening to us. At this point, I would like to invite for a goodwill message the representative of National Water Resource Institute, Dr. Martins Eduvier.
The Permanent Secretary, ably represented by Director of Reforms, the Director of Dams, Dala, my friend and my brother, my sister Stella, Very distinguished participants, let me also recognize the representative of the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Power, and other very distinguished participants here present. Dam safety and management is something that is very crucial. If you look at the total number of dams we have in this country, I doubt if most of those dams are registered with the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. Dams management, if you look at it critically, it is something that sometimes we underplay. And just recently, we have this issue in Mokwa. It is not directly dam that actually failed, but what really happened, you had the railway lines that we had in that place that were completely blocked. That means that at one of the sites that is supposed to bring in water under the rail was completely blocked. So it formed as a source of what? Of barrier that actually created a kind of, dam in quote. And when the pressure was actually too much, what happened? To wipe up the whole. That tells you how difficult, how important if you don't manage your dam effectively. With over 450 dams in this country, the Department of Dams are supposed to be the EFCC of dams. And what it means that all of them must be registered with all the necessary permits, the safety permits that you are supposed to have to ensure that all of us are safe. So this tells you how important the department is when we talk of dams. I want to congratulate the organizers of this, and I'm sure by the time we look at the code that has actually been produced for the use that is approved by the Standard Organization of Nigeria, you agree with me that issue of safety management will be very, very crucial, and it will continue to be very crucial in our daily lives. Let me congratulate the organizer, and especially the Federal Ministry of Water Resources through the Department of Dam for organizing this and other stakeholders. I wish you a very successful deliberation as we look at all the indices and, of course, all the issues that has to do with safety management of dam in our country. I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, the Acting DG, National Water Resource Institute. And while he was making his goodwill message, Engineer Alabi walked up stage so that you could recognize him. So at this point, may I humbly and respectfully invite, excuse me. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I would like to invite Engineer MS Mohammed to the high table, please. I would also like to invite Engineer Musa Ayewala to the high table. So what? And also invite Mr. Fato Beru to the high table, please. Thank you very much. Distinguished members of the high table, I hope you are all seated comfortably. At this point, may I respectfully invite the representative of the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, the Director Reforms, Mr. Moses Joe Madugu, to please give us his opening address. You're welcome, sir.
First and foremost, my apologies. I hope I didn't keep you guys waiting. Yeah, I think I did. But I got this information to represent the Permanent Secretary a bit late. I had slept off when my very good friend General called with that information because I was at the program. Sure, most of you are aware it is Civil Service Week. It is Civil Service Week, and so we're at the venue, Eagle Square, the whole of yesterday. I crashed out immediately I got home, but till when I woke up early hours of the morning, I saw his message, and that's when we made that communication, because I'm also supposed to be a panelist in one of the programs at the office of the head of, at the Eagle Square conference, the Civil Service Conference. But so my apologies for coming in a bit late. So I'm here to represent the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, Mr. Richard Filangwa. And this is how his address goes. First and foremost, let me recognize my very good brother, Director, Dams and Reservoir Operations, the Acting Director, National Nigeria Water Resource Institute, Director 2, Dams, representative of the PAMSEC Ministry of Power, resource persons and other members of the high table here, and participants at this august occasion. It is my honor to welcome you all to the workshop on dam safety in Nigeria, which serves as a preliminary stakeholders engagement towards the implementation of the Sustainable Power and Irrigation for Nigeria SPIN project. It's truly a pleasure to see so many dedicated professionals, experts, and stakeholders gathered here today, all united by a common and critical purpose, which is ensuring the safety and resilience of our dams. Your presence here underscores the immense importance of achieving the project development objective, which is the PDO, of the SPIN project, and in general, safety of all dams in Nigeria, which is very critical, given the fact that we're in rainy seasons and we have a lot of overflow. As we all know, dams are a vital infrastructure providing essential resources for improved agriculture through irrigation, raw water for potable water supply, power control and flood control, amongst others. Yet, their very scale and function also present significant responsibilities and challenges. These functions are crucial aspects of the SPIN project, which cannot be achieved without guaranteeing their safety. The safety of these structures also impacts communities, economies, and environments, making proactive management and continuous learning essential for the SPIN project. Therefore, in the next 2 days, we are expected to delve into a range of crucial topics identified to advance the knowledge of participants in dam safety, monitoring, and risk assessment based on best practices in emergency preparedness and climate change adaptation. We have an outstanding lineup of presenters and facilitators who will share their invaluable insights, expertise as well. This workshop isn't just about absorbing information. It is also about fostering collaboration, sharing experiences, and building stronger networks within the dam safety community towards actualizing the objectives of the SPIN project. Your active participation, questions, and contributions are highly encouraged, as they will enrich the discussions and it will benefit everyone present. I want to extend a special thanks to members of the organizing committee, the World Bank, the training project management staff, and all those who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event possible. Their dedication has been instrumental in bringing us all together for this important workshop. Let's use this opportunity to learn from each other, to challenge our perspectives, and to collectively strengthen our commitment to dam safety and the actualization of the SPIN objectives. We're all here to make sure these focal structures for the SPIN project continue to serve us safely and effectively for generations to come. It is my sincere pleasure and honor to declare this workshop open. I wish you a happy and fruitful experience over the course of this program. It is my belief that it will be a productive and insightful workshop. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you very much, the Permanent Secretary, for your opening address. While the Permanent Secretary was making his opening address, the Director PPP walked in, Engineer Zacchaeus. You're welcome, sir. So at this point, we've come to the highlights of this workshop, which is the lead paper address, Dam Safety Management in Nigeria, which Engineer Dicey Alabi will walk us through. Thank you very much, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I want to stand on all the existing protocol. I don't want to breach anyone, so I will stand on all the existing protocol, recognizing our Permanent Secretary, our directors, and everyone here. Thank you very much. I want to start on the note of gratitude that I consider it a very, very great privilege that I should stand at this podium this morning. I want to appreciate the Department of Dams and Reservoir Operation for giving me this rare opportunity to share, not just with my colleagues there or my contemporaries, but also speak before my in Nigerian parlance, my very, very august at the top. People that we started hearing their names when we were pupil engineers, standing on the same podium with you this morning is a great privilege and it's a great honor for me. And this gratitude will not be complete if I don't acknowledge how it happens that I'm standing on this podium. I was posted to the city of Jos in year 2001 as a corper, and I was sent to a company named Damtech Nigeria Limited. And I went home that evening, no address, no phone number, and as God have it, my Ogatu is on this table. That's why I said it's a privilege. Engineer Musa Ayanwola is here. I was staying in his house in Jos as a copper. And so I showed him the letter. This is what I was given. And he laughed that these are my people, these are my friends. So the following morning, he took me to Damtech's office. And that brought me under the tutelage of a man that, looking back today, could have been ordained by God. A man that in many parlance is known as the father of dams in Nigeria. And I know many of us in this hall this morning cannot but acknowledge him. That's Engineer J.C. Umolu. I have that privilege of a lifetime to be trained and to be mentored by him. And that has been my journey as a copper in 2001, now as a director in that same company, standing before you this morning. I'm not taking that lightly. Thank you very much. And like I said, it is a privilege because I told you Engineer Musa was the one who took me to that office, so he has been doing dam engineering when I was just a copper. So thank you very much for this privilege this morning. Please, if you can have the presentation quickly. This is a technical paper, and to make it relatable, we are going to be employing a lot of, we're going to be using this PowerPoint to make it easy for us. I'm to speak on dam safety management in Nigeria. Dam safety management in Nigeria. And if we're going to be doing that, the very first thing we need to know is, what do we mean by dam safety? What does it mean when we say a dam is safe? According to the United States Federal Emergency Management Agency, dam safety is the art, both an art, and I'm going to explain why it is an art, and also a science of ensuring the integrity and viability of dams, such that they do not present an unacceptable risk to the public, to the property, to the environment. It is an art in the sense that there is a way to go about it, and it is also a science. That is, there are guiding principles that are not just frivolous, that are not just speculative, that has to be in place. So it's both an art and a science. And the practice of dam safety is not intended to ensure that dams do not fail. And I need to stress that because we all know, we are engineers, in practical terms, it is impossible to completely eliminate risk. It's impossible. No matter how good, how well designed and well constructed a dam is, it still portrays a measure of risk. But what we're saying under dam safety is to reduce that risk to what is considered to be acceptable, and that is not going to cause any collateral damage to the public, to the people, and to the environment. So the fundamental assumption in dam safety is that failure can occur, regardless of how robust the dam is. We must never get overconfident, like the owner of Titanic. We know the story of Titanic, the man who boasted that even God cannot sink this boat. And on the very first voyage,
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please, I want to crave the indulgence of the permanent secretary, because I can see you all turning your necks, and I don't know if you will be comfortable later in the evening after doing this for a long time. So I would like to crave your indulgence to please sit down at the round table there so that you can watch the presentation more conveniently. Thank you very much.
is this working? It's not. So I'll be the only one turning my neck. All right. So, thank you very much, sir. Sorry for stressing you up and down. So, like I was saying, the fundamental assumption is that failure can occur. We must never become overconfident. We must never become prideful. in our boast that a dam is so good, is so robust that it can never fail. That is not the objective of dam safety. Now, dam safety, according to ICOLD specification and definition, we all know what ICOLD is. That's International Committee on Large Dams, which Nigeria is a member and a part of, states that ensuring the safety of dams can be achieved by designing and constructing the dam to conform to the generally accepted practices of the day, then operating with sufficient surveillance, including instrumentation, monitoring, visual inspection, checking and testing maintenance, safety assessments and improvement. It's very interesting to note that safety of a dam starts from the design. That a dam will fail eventually can be decided looking at the design of the dam, not even being built yet. And then the construction plays a major role. So it doesn't matter how technically sound the design is, if the construction is faulty and not well done, it's going to predispose that dam into failure. Also, we can design well, we can build excellently, but if we don't monitor and have inspection regularly of our dams, they can still fail. And under the monitoring is the issue of instrumentation, which for many of us who are practitioners in dams engineering, that has always been a major issue with most of our dams. And so, as far as ICOLD is concerned, the safety of a dam starts from the design, into the construction, into the maintenance, the monitoring for it to serve the purpose. For dam safety management, the overarching purpose of a dam safety management program, therefore, is to see to it that dams are designed, constructed, and maintained in a manner so that they do not pose an unacceptable risk to the public over their entire operational life service. Like I said shortly ago, we can't remove risk, but we can operate dams in ways that they do not pose unacceptable risk. And we're going to get to the definition of what we mean by unacceptable risk as we go to the public all through its life cycle. And it's very interesting for us to, I know we know this, but according to ICOLD in their bulletin in 2021, this is what a life cycle phase of a dam looks like. Number one is the concept and design. When that is well delivered, then we have the construction, the installation, the inspection, and the commissioning. Now, we will see that while the operation of that dam is going on, which is the next thing after commissioning, it's supposed to run simultaneously with either rehabilitation and renewal works. Now, the reason is dams are civil engineering structures, and they have lifespans and they have life, as it were. And they need continuous, deliberate, and intentional monitoring for them to deliver on their purposes. If we just construct, install, commission, and then we begin to operate, and we never go back to this other cycle of rehabilitation and renewal works from time to time, the decommissioning of that dam will happen very speedily. For those of us who have been privileged to go around the country for dam inspection, we have dams that are less than 5 years, less than 10 years, that cannot perform their intended purposes any longer, that they are already out of use. But here is our challenge. Now we're coming home. As it stands today in Nigeria, we are yet to have a standardized, accepted, agreeable program or guidance for dam owners with respect to actions that are needed to meet their responsibilities for ensuring that their dams are safe. It will interest you to know, as we're going to see in the course of this presentation, that federal government is responsible for barely 46% of dams in this country. We have a law that belongs to state, we have a law that belongs to private individuals, to farms, and other people. And there are, as of today, yet to be this consensus on what is the standardized program for every dam owner on how to run, manage, and ensure that the dams are safe over their entire life. And that's what brings us to what dam safety management is. Having established what is dam safety. What is dam safety management? It is a comprehensive approach to ensure dams operate safely and reliably, minimizing risks to people, to property, and the environment. That's what the management is all about. Dam safety management involves a combination of engineering principles, risk management practices, and ongoing monitoring and maintenance. Dams are not structures that are built, commissioned, and then left to run on its own. There must be an ongoing monitoring and ongoing maintenance for not just for the dam to fulfill the purpose for which it was designed and constructed, but also keep it safe and keep the people around it safe. So therefore, effective dam safety management is crucial for the long-term functionality of dams and the protection of downstream communities. These are the critical issues. It's not just only that the dam may fail to meet or perform the purpose for which it is constructed, but it can pose a major risk to people downstream. So dam safety management in Nigeria, as of today, it is a critical issue. And I put unofficially, because we're still trying to collate and agree on the total number of dams in this country. Some unofficial sources said there are over 400. And of course, we know that many of them are in dire need of rehabilitation. And many of them are facing terrible challenges when it comes to operations and maintenance. And a key aspect of this effort, that is the dam safety management in Nigeria, is the development of national dam safety guidelines and training programs for dam owners and operators. We cannot overemphasize that. The moment a dam is constructed, it stops being the concern of the owner of the dam. It starts being the concern of the whole populace. Because it is unlike a building, that if I build my building and I'm living inside my house, it poses immediate risk to me. But dams, on the other side, pose immediate risk, not just to the owner, not just to the operator, but to a lot of people who have nothing to do with the operations of the dam, who have nothing to do with the purpose for which the dam was built. So it is very important, therefore, that there must be these national dam safety guidelines and training programs for every dam owner in this country. I want to take us on what I consider the current state of dam safety management in Nigeria. These are the current issues ongoing. The number one thing that we are faced with in the dam sector in this country is that we have large number of dams. Nigeria has significant number of dams. And like I said, 46% is federally owned, 48 belong to states, and there are other ones owned by other people. So the number of dams on its own is a challenge on the issue of the safety management. We have been doing some things together now at the trimming and spin level. We have not even been able to, I'm sure part of what we're going to be doing today is part of it. We have not even been able to cover up to 50 out of the numbers of dams that we have. Number two is that there is huge rehabilitation needs for many of these dams. We know that many of our dams are old. Some of them are built over 20, 25, 30 years ago. So they are in need of major rehabilitation. And the challenge there is there are many dams in that category. So sometimes the issue of which one to tackle or which one to go after becomes a problem. Another challenge we are having in dam sector is the issue of inadequate management. Institutions responsible for dam management, both at the federal and state level, many times lack the necessary budget. And I know that's something that is very touchy, so I won't talk too much about that. I took the liberty to check the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation budget in the past 4 years, 2022, 2023, 2024. And I ran through them looking for allocation specifically for dam safety, not for rehabilitation, not for just dam safety. And in 2022, dam safety has 6 million. In 2023, dam safety has 4. In 2023, it has 6.5. In 2025, now it has 46, which is very big. So that means in the last 4 years, dam safety allocation is around 60 million naira. And for most of us seated there, we know that that is not even enough to do one emergency preparedness plan for just one dam. So the issue of funding is a major issue for dam safety management. It's as if our concern is mostly in the designing of new ones, construction of new ones, rehabilitations of the old one, without specifically attending to the safety management. Now, there's a difference between rehabilitation and safety management. They are not the same thing. So dam safety, as we're going to see, management include things like dam break studies and analysis, emergency preparedness analysis, monitoring and inspection. These are the things that are key issue in safety management. But over the years, fund has been a major issue. And like my people in the Southwest, the Yorubas, will tell you that money says when it's not at home, nobody should make any plan. Then we have the issue of the lack of formal progress, which we have mentioned, about dam safety, guidance, and so many dam owners are left with unclear responsibilities and their roles towards the people. So what are the key issues? And this is where the bulk of this paperwork is. The key aspect of dam safety management. And these are the areas that I want my fellow dam engineers, my contemporaries and my colleagues, and also my ogas to let us look at closely and see how we can begin to do something about this. Key aspects of dam safety management. Number one is the risk assessment. The risk assessment. We can't be talking of dam safety management without identifying potential hazards and evaluating the likelihood and consequences of the dam failure. And I think that's the direction that the tool that we are going to be looking at as we go now, we're talking about identifying the potential hazards. The next major issue, under that is the operation and maintenance. There is a need for implementing regular inspections, monitoring, and maintenance procedures in order to ensure that the dams continue to function properly. So we have risk assessment, which is the number one thing. We have the operation and maintenance, which is number two. It will surprise you to know that there are very few dams in this country that has operation and maintenance manual. Very few. And basically, operation and maintenance manual tells us what are the necessary activities that you need to observe to preserve the longevity of the dam. There are things that you have to do weekly. There are things that you have to do monthly. There are things that you have to do at the beginning of the rainy season. There are things that you have to do at the end of the rainy season. These are the things that would naturally be spelled out in the O&M manual. But many of our dams today do not have that. We have the issue of design and construction as a key issue in dam safety management. And under the design and the construction, We have major challenge in this part of the world, especially in this country. And it's a challenge that I know both from the government side and from the public side, we all agree on without shying away from it, is that many times political consideration trumps technical realities in siting and location of dams. Somebody just became the chairman of the House Committee on Water Resources. You know, I'm just citing an example. I'm not saying anybody in particular. Am I safe on that, please? I'm using that purely as an example. And then he wants a dam in his village because there is a river that flows behind the village. And he's insisting that there must be a dam. And we go to site to look at it, and we all know that dam is not like a market or a building that you can site anywhere. And the pre-feasibility indicates that the best location for that dam, because we are looking for what we normally call the neck of a river to site a dam, is few kilometers downstream or upstream from his place. And he refused and insisted that it has to be in his place. So you will end up with a longer dam, you will end up with a smaller reservoir, you will end up with more expensive dam because now you have to do foundation treatment and all that, that at the end of the day, the unit cost would have almost been doubled if technical considerations has been what prevail in siting those dams. We also have a situation under design and construction where some of us are kind of obsessed with certain kinds of dams and structures. I was invited by a river basin some years back to design a dam, small dam, and when I was submitting my inception report and the direction we want to follow, the director of design insisted that he wanted an Augie spillway. And I took time to try to explain that as beautiful as we think Augie is, it is not necessarily suitable for every location. There are things that must be in place to make Augie spillway function effectively. Well, I was able to prevail and insist, and we just did a broad-crested side channel. 3 years down the line, I was invited by the same river basin for site inspection. And 3 of the dams that were constructed in less than 5 years, all of them has Augie, and all the 3 has failed. Because Augie is not something you just site anywhere. There is no bedrock as a foundation. The soil is not strong enough to handle it. So we have one of them, the Augie structure has been eroded under and created its own pathway, and the reservoir was empty. So part of the issue with dam safety management is the issue of design, where some of us are just, in quotes, obsessed with a certain kind of structures and insisting that that should be done without consideration to the site-specific situations before siting these dams. That will impact on how safe that structure will be. The issue of emergency preparedness, I've mentioned that, is critical under dam safety, that every large dam, every major dam should have the emergency preparedness plan or the emergency action plan in case something happens. I know that we are religious people, and the first thing we are going to say is, God forbid. God forbid. Well, that's very good. It's good that God will forbid, but experience have shown that God will not assume responsibility for the things that He has given us responsibility over. So emergency preparedness plan does not mean we are saying the dam will fail, but we are saying if it happens, there should be guideline on what to do and how to do it. Another key issue under dam safety management is the issue of surveillance and monitoring. By utilizing instrumentation and monitoring systems to track dam behavior. Like I said, dam is almost like a living organism. And there is a need to know what is going on within the dams. And there are provisions, there are systems by which what is going on within can be done. And it's basically by instrumentation. But we know that many of our dams in this country are not instrumented. The ones that have the instrumentation, they are not being well read. The ones that they take the reading, they are not documented. So at the end of the day, there is no basis for evaluation to say if our seepage today is 2 cubic meter per second, for instance, for this month, what was it this time last year? What was it this time 2 years ago? So that we can know that something is happening here. It's either it is going too much high or it's coming too low. And either it is too high or too low, they both indicate something about the health of the dam. But we don't have many dams being well instrumented. We also have the issue of regular inspection, routine inspections. Most of the time, we don't do dam inspection until failure is imminent or until failure has happened. I was privileged some years back to carry out dam inspection for NESCO in Plateau State. And many of us know NESCO. Some of their dams, in fact, the youngest of their dams are over 70 years old. Some of these dams were built in 1930s, 1940s. And if you get to the site, it will amaze you that these dams are still functional properly. And when I went for this inspection, I understood why they could have that for over the years. They pay attention to these dams as if they are babies. You cannot see one strand of grass growing where it's not supposed to grow. You cannot see one wheelbarrow load of a sand where it's not supposed to be. There is a daily inspection, daily monitoring, and these dams have been operational for some of them over 80 years now. So there is a need for regular inspections and not emergency inspections that we do when failures are imminent. We also have the issue of modification and upgrade. Implementing necessary modifications or upgrade to address identified risk or improve dam safety. We know that times are changing in terms of nature. For instance, due to climate change now, many of our dams that have been done 20, 30 years ago, we need to rerun the hydrology and be sure that the PMF that was considered while we're designing those dams are still valid, because both the trend and the intensity of rainfall has changed. And so many dams may have to actually be rechecked, and there might be a need for remodification, either to increase the crest or to reduce the crest or whatever. But I'm saying that we cannot just assume, and this is very critical, that a dam have stood for 50 years does not mean it cannot fail. So how long that a dam has been in existence is not a proof that it's secured forever. The age notwithstanding. So there is a need for that modification and constant upgrade. And of course, a major important aspect of dam safety management is this interaction and the communication with the host communities. There is a need for us to integrate the host communities into the safety of these dams. They live there, they farm there, they know a lot of things about the dam. When Erusu Dam in Ondo State failed, the first call came from the people who were going to the farm in the morning, that they noticed an unusual flow of water and there was no rain, an unusual flow of water under the bridge as they were crossing, and they alerted the river basin. And before the river basin people could get to the site, the dam busted. So it is very important that the host communities are integrated into safety management, little enlightenment, little education about what they are having within their communities, the simple things to look out for. If you are going to the farm in the morning and you notice this, what does it mean? Who do you call? Who do you talk to? If you hear an unusual sound, what does that mean? So these are things that can also help us in dam safety management. And lastly, on that issue is the issue of regulatory compliance. We are still having a major issue with compliance. People still see dams largely as one of the infrastructure you can provide. If you have the money, you have a farm, you want to do irrigation, you just go ahead and put a dam. You want to do something for sightseeing, put a dam and have a waterfall. We need to strengthen our regulatory system and the compliance. There must be strict adherence to relevant regulations and guidelines for dam safety and management. So what are the key considerations as we go forward in this workshop over these 2 days. The things that we need to pay attention to in this place. Key consideration number 1 is that we need to hasten up on our development of dam safety management system, which is a structured approach to managing dam, encompassing all aspects of dam management, including the issue of the risk assessment, the operation, the maintenance, the emergency planning, and more. So there is a need for us to hasten this process and come up with something that can now become a basis for both the monitoring and the evaluation and the maintenance of our dams. And all dam owners are expected to have dam safety management system in place for their dams. Number 2, there is a need for us to hasten our work in developing the guidelines. I know, because I happen to be part of it, that there is an ongoing effort in developing a national dam safety guidelines, which will include training programs, comprehensive hydropower master plan. That's what both Trimming and Spring were trying to do. We need to hurry up and do a quick work and come up with this document. We have to look at the issue of developing a risk-based approach into our maintenance and operation. Now, a dam safety risk screening tool is being developed presently, and we thank God for how far we have gone on that. Now, what this screening tool is doing for us is basically to have the risk index on all our major dams. And what that will help us to do is that our rehabilitation program or intervention programs should no longer be politicized. It should not just be because I'm from this area, then we want to rehabilitate the dam in this area. This tool will show us which dam is more at risk, which dam has a higher risk index, and that should become the basis on our push for rehabilitation and not any other consideration. And not only that, the tool will also help us, even with individual dams, to know that which aspect, which life, in quotes, of this dam is making this dam to be at risk. There are many times that we do rehabilitation and we do not solve the problem that led to the need for rehabilitation. For instance, if we see cracks on a dam, either longitudinal or transverse, cracks are like headaches. And if you go to the hospital and you said to a doctor that you are sick, and you say, what's wrong with you? And you said, the sickness is headache. The doctor will laugh at you, because there is no disease called headache. There is no sickness called headache. Headache is a symptom. It's an indication of something else that is wrong. And there are many things that could be making your head to ache. That's why they will say, when you take paracetamol, after 3 days, consult your doctor. That is, if this headache is not going, that means there is an underlying factor. So there are many times we do rehabilitation and we never address what is causing the problem. We just treat the signs, we just treat the symptoms without addressing the issue. No wonder 2 years after, 3 years after, we are back to that same problem. So this screening tool is going to help us to identify what are the things that is predisposing this particular dam to this risk. And once that issue is dealt with, the symptoms will disappear as we deal with that issue, so that our interventions are no longer politicized, our interventions are no longer on the surface, they are done with accurate understanding of what the underlying problems are. And of course, there is need for constant training and capacity building for every sector in dam management. Why do we have to do that? The world is evolving. Times are changing. New tools are coming online every day. People are developing new software, new systems, new ways of doing things. So that we knew it does not mean we know it now. So there is a need for constant and continuous training and capacity building. And I know that's something that has been an issue for a long time, but we must begin to find creative ways like what we are doing now to ensure that there is constant training and capacity building. And then, key consideration is this issue of emergency action plan. We cannot overemphasize it. There must be an intentional push to develop and implement EAPs for our dams to mitigate potential hazards that can cause a lot of trouble for us. And I think lastly on that is the issue of regulations. Regulations. Dam safety regulation have to be established, and we must insist that there is enough public awareness campaign for every dam owner to key into this. Quickly, conscious of our time, the challenges, what I call the tightrope of dam safety management in Nigeria. The tightrope, because we have to balance so many things at the same time. Number one on that list, from my own position and limited experience, is the issue of hydrologic and environmental factors. I mentioned that briefly. See, we need to understand that, like I said, the climate is changing. And many of our dams were designed, constructed without the input or the foresight of many of the changes that we are having now. And the situation we find ourselves is that because of this inadequate planning for hydrologic and environmental factors, which were not in place during the construction of the dam, which were not imagined during the construction and the design of the dam, have now thrown us into trouble. And I can use the recent experience that we all have. When Alau Dam happened, a lot of speculations were all over the place. And I think that's one of the things that happen when people who have the authority to speak on the situation are not allowed to do so. So everybody suddenly became a dam expert. Everybody started giving dam expert opinion on things that they know little about. What was the issue that happened to Alau Dam? It's a very simple thing that happened over time. For those of us who know the terrain, it's a very flat terrain. And when the dam was designed and built originally, dikes were provided. And those dikes were designed and placed to help keep the reservoir in place. But over time, due to climate change and environmental change, floods from other places that were not envisaged started coming towards this dam. Now, what happened was that the dike, for those who have visited the site, was designed, was protected, well protected with a membrane, with rock and all that, on the side that was facing the reservoir. There was no envision that there would be flood from the other side. So what basically happened was that floods that were not imagined came from the other side, and the dike was now like loaded from both sides. And then this washed in, and floods that were not considered in the design of the spillway suddenly came into the reservoir. And of course, we know what's going to happen. So what we are saying now is there is a need for us, for many of our large dams, to revisit the issue of hydrological considerations and assumptions that were made when they were designed. Because both the terrain have changed, both the hydrology have changed, the weather have changed. And we need to now evaluate them in the light of the present conditions and to be sure that they are still safe to manage what we have in our hands today. Another factor that is a challenge is the issue of climate change. The rainfall variability, the rainfall intensity, and we all know that if you are doing a design now, you can't rely on rainfall from 20, 25 years ago. It has changed. We now have a situation in many stations where what used to be an annual rainfall, 50% of an annual rainfall is now being experienced as a daily rainfall. And we know that for those of us who are in hydrology, our concern with spillway is not the annual rainfall. is what we call the instantaneous rainfall, the daily rainfall. Now, what used to be half of the annual rainfall is happening in a day. And there is a need for us to begin to pay attention to these things. Then we have the challenge of water quality. Because of the issue of pollution from agricultural runoff and other sources, we need to begin to look at the issue of our water quality in our reservoirs. And then again, I won't run away from this issue, which is the issue of enforcement. We still have a very weak enforcement of regulations and policies. And like I said, many times it is purely a politicization of things that should be technical decisions affect our enforcement. So we have to find a way to creatively begin to see to it that we have strong enforcement of our policies and our regulations. So what is the future of dam safety? The future of dam safety. I just want to speak about one, and I'm closing, that we need to begin to look at as the future of dam safety, and that is technology. Technology to the rescue. The days of relying on the usual way of doing things are gone. We now have advance in technology that can help us deal with the challenge of dam safety. AI, softwares, Internet of Things are all on board, and they can help us in managing our dams, allowing for what we call a real-time data analysis and real-time decisions. We saw something when we went to Gurara, which is commendable and which is the direction we should look at, that they have been able to digitize their instrumentations. Not only have they digitized it, they have been able to upload it now, that from anywhere you can check and have up-to-date data and readings of what is happening. As in, you can go, they have a site that they shared with us that day, and we all logged in and we saw it, that you can see the reading as of this morning, you can see the seepage as of this morning, you can check the temperature as of this morning, and not only that, they are beginning to put a line on the pipeline and all the valves that you can check the valve reading for each of these valve stations in real time. In real time. And that's the future. That's the future. That we don't necessarily have to begin to go to the site and begin to read those things manually. Technology can help us to digitize these things, that we can have real-time data for real-time decision-making. The days of looking for who has the reading and who has not done the reading is fast coming to an end. What is my last take on this? Is that the time has come for all of us, either from government or private or individual, who are part of the dam family in Nigeria, to ensure the safety of our dams and to begin to see that it is very vital for us in order to be able to protect our communities, protect our environment, and to be able to continuously improve and be proactive in this issue of dam safety. Thank you very much again. It's such a privilege and an honor for me to do this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Alebi. You have given us a very in-depth paper. I hope the people joining us via Zoom had a very resourceful time with his presentation, and all of you are keyed in on all the points he brought out. Thank you very much. I would like to recognize the presence of two dam experts who walked in while there was the paper presentation going on. We have the retired director, Dams and Reservoir Operations, Engineer D.M. Lowell. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for making time. We also have Engineer Ekigwe. Sorry for my pronunciation, sir. K.O. Ekigwe, retired Deputy Director, Dams. He's here. Thank you for making time. So at this point, I would like to crave the indulgence of the permanent secretary to invite the Director 2, Dams and Reservoir Operations, the ebullient Madam Stella Arachi, for her vote of thanks. Thank you very much, everyone.